righty. Welcome to another episode of The Stitch Life. And today's episode will all be about handbag designing and construction. Okay. So I just want to start out by saying that accessories rule the world. I sell accessories. I love accessory brands. And reason being is that this thing that I've mentioned a couple times in different episodes about cost per wear. Consumers are always more than likely to spend money on items that they'll get more wear out of. So that means that the accessory industry is a huge industry for any designer to tap into, whether that be hats, handbags, shoes, jewelry, and even if you want to hop into like cosmetics and fragrances, those are the best things because they're smaller, which requires less materials and then easier to construct over apparel. It doesn't require going through that whole fitting process or anything. So handbags rule the world. Okay. So let's go into just a little bit of little history. I'm not gonna give y'all entire history lesson, but my two recommended reads, if you're looking to get into handbag design, is going to be first the Bag Design book by Fashionary. All right, that's the first one. And then the second one is going to be Fashion Accessories by Oliver Jorval. You can find both of these books on Amazon via the link in our bio with our designer essential picks of our reading picks. Now, just a little background for me. My first job in the industry was in handbags. I worked at a place called Truth of Touch where we focused in on handbags in the the Better Bridge market. We sold to Macy's, we sold to Holt Look, and this is where I really tapped into handbag design. So my background is in, of course, apparel design, but my first job that I was in bag design, and we made everything across the board. And I was fortunate enough to be at a company where I was in a position where I did everything. So tech design, fabric selection, accounts receivable, accounts payable, like literally everything that you can think of in running an entire handbag business, selling direct to consumer as well as to stores. So I know a lot about handbags and I love handbags. Okay. Now, first thing you need to know is terminology. There are clutches and handheld bags. There, of course, are crossbody and shoulder bags. There are backpacks and waist bags. There are athletic and functional bags. There are trunks and luggage. There are wallets and purses. And then, of course, there are SLGs, which stands for small leather goods. This is going to be like, glass pouches, case holders, money clips, phone cases. Those things I consider small SLGs. Okay. So those are the different categories. All right. And you'll see them at the bottom of the screen: clutches, handhelds, belt bags, athletic bags, trunks, luggage, wallets, all of that stuff. Now you can decide, which area you want to be in. A lot of our favorite brands that we like are a little bit in all of the categories. They all sell clutches. They all sell handheld bags. A lot of them sell crossbody, shoulder bags, backpacks. So all of our favorite brands probably has a product in each category: SLGs to backpacks to athletic bags. Nike mostly does athletic bags. You'll probably never really see them on SLGs, but you'll mostly see them in athletics. But of course, some of our favorite bags, of course, is Chanel, Givenchy. What is another favorite? Prada has a bag that they've been using for a long time, and that's very popular. And of course, why am I brain farting right now? This is my favorite, the one that has the Kelly bag, the Birkin bag. So that is another one. You have to get on a waiting list to even get one of those bags. Okay. So let's go over a couple different things here. So historically, there are handbags that came out in like the medieval times and in those periods, but there are also handbags that came more out in the Renaissance period. And handbags over time have developed in different ways to pretty much solve a problem. We're solving a problem with handbags, mostly because women, we don't really walk around with things in our pockets like men do. So we always need something to carry like our more valuable items. So the key thing about designing a handbag is making sure that it is functional for the wearer. Totes are always very popular because it's more of an everyday bag. And then, of course, book bags are very popular because they're everyday bag. And then schools, like kids, all the way up to college, think about book bags just being an amazing industry as a whole, because you need a book bag from when you are in pre-K all the way up to when you're in college. And even as an adult, a lot of adults, carry book bags. I carry book bags all the time, as well as in travel. So a book bag and creating like that perfect book bag is definitely a niche market, as well as luggage for the travel industry. Creating a good tote for that woman is very, very good too, and a go-to bag that is functional needs to be very sturdy on the handle. So think about the handle design of it when you're thinking about designing a tote bag, okay? And handles are the most important because they have the most wear and tear. So skinny and small and frail handles are not always ideal. Of course, we see more of like chain and like gold handles when it comes to like clutches and like party bags, which is great because you're only going to have it on for a couple of hours. But if you are making like a bag that is going to be worn over time and lots of use, handles should be one of the first things that you think about, okay? Now, moving on just a tad bit, I'm going to flash my book towards you. I just want to tell you why I feel like this bag in particular, this book in particular is just like a great read, because it helps you learn a lot of the vocabulary of bags. So some of our favorite bags are the Pond's backpack, the D Manta clutch from Alexander McQueen, the Marty bag from Alexander Wang. We have the nickel box clutch by Alexander Wang. Of course, the classic flat bag by Chanel, the boy Chanel bag, the mini bucket by Coach was very, very popular at the time. The Marcy by Chloe is another very popular bag. The Antogona, that's the Givenchy bag that I was mentioning earlier, is very popular. And of course, the Baguette by Fendi is a very popular bag as well. I think that this book has a lot of information in it and that you should definitely go out and get it, okay? Now, past that, it has more of the bag details. Literally, the first page is about handles, and that's literally what I was just discussing with you guys as far as like making sure you choose the appropriate handle for your bag. So that is key. And of course, think about compartments and inner wallets that you can add to the bag for more of a functionality. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but there's also like people buy like bag organizers because a lot of big bags lack organization. So having pockets and zippers and flaps and stuff like that where you can organize your bag is definitely a problem that we want to solve within the handbag making world, okay? Now, of course, hardware is a big thing when it comes to it comes to materials for your bag. So I like to recommend that you go natural, like whether you use natural brass, natural antique, rustic, something like that. When you add plastic to bags, it tends to change colors over time. It tends to break over time. I do think as a bag designer that you definitely should focus in on natural fabrications. And the reason being is just because natural fabrications are sturdier. They stand the test of time. And that's what we want for a good bag. It's something that you can, as a woman or as a man, you want to, pass things down. It could also be, let's say you get, a little low on money and you want to go ahead and sell a bag to, get it together. But you want to have things that are good quality and you want to have good quality fabrications. Okay. So I'm going to take you guys through like pretty much the process of how to create a bag, thinking about geometry. Because of course a bag is nothing but a whole bunch of shapes put together, whether those are cylinders, rectangles, circles, squares, hexagons, octagons. It really is just shape. It's shape that is conformed into a certain fabrication and a bag is created. It has a bottom and it has a side. And that's really only thing you should think about when it comes to bags. It has a bottom, it has sides. Some of them don't have tops. Sometimes they pull closed, sometimes they snap closed. But just having something that has a bottom, a front and a back, and sides, literally, just like a box, whether that shape is in circular, cylinder, or anything else. We are going to cut to commercial break, and I'm going to walk you through each stage when it goes from sketch to actual mock-up to actually creating the bag. So I'll see you in a second.
There's a couple things I'd like to say to you. After all the crazy things that we've been through, I needed you in the dead of night, the wake of the day, first broken light. And blind I'd follow you, never realize how much I needed you.
Comfort, what we deliver by delivering.
All right, and we are back. So, of course, the first thing that you want to consider when designing a bag is what the shapes would be. You could get very, very innovative with the shape. And then you want to think about all the different components and compartments that go to the bag. So, think about the anatomy of this bag and then honestly just using geometric shapes. So, let's talk about the front. Typically, the front is called the front part of the bag. The sides are called the gusset. So you'll have a bag that has a gusset on the side that is just the opening there. And then there, of course, that there is piping that you can utilize on the bag. There's handles. I am going to show you a few different ones here. So let me get a bag. Here's an example of a little mock-up bag. So this would be the front, of course, and then there's a tab here. This would be where the gusset is. So this particular piece right here, that's the gusset, okay, of the bag. Now, this is just front, back, and then, of course, this is the bottom here. And then, of course, you got your strap here. Now, depending on the design of the bag, it could have multiple components to it. It could have a front flap. It could have a top handle. It could have a closure strap. It could have a lock, like a chain lock on there. It can have interior. It can have handle holders. It can have feet at the bottom. Like, it really just depends on the design. Now, what you want to think about is how this is constructed. Now, honestly, if we just take one look at this bag, we can see that this bag is nothing but a square. And then over here, the sides are pretty rectangular, okay? That's all it is to it, which means that if you were creating a pattern for it, you would literally measure the length of the bag and you would measure the width of the bag and you'd make your pattern piece based off of that. And then you make a pattern piece for the gusset, of course. You make a pattern piece for the top piece. And if the top piece is all one piece, like as you can see here, this is all one piece, that could also just be a pattern piece, and then the bottom would be a different pattern piece. And that's literally you taking a ruler, measuring, and literally making squares onto oak tag. For the most part, you definitely want to keep your patterns on oak tag when you're making it for handbags, only because of the sturdiness, and then also needing them to, for the most part, handbags are made on leather. Now, I have that Oliver Duval book because I want to show you a little process of making like a little felt prototype. So, of course, this is an image here of a bag, a little small little duffel bag. So before you make it in actual leather, you or whatever your final fabric is, you're gonna want to make a dummy bag or a proto bag. It's the same thing. So you don't want to do that in leather. You want to do that in canvas, or you can do it in denim. You could do it in felt. So after you've created your pattern pieces and you've now laid those pattern pieces out onto a mock fabric, then you're going to go ahead and cut it out and you're going to go ahead and construct it. So the reason why I love this book so much is because it literally has step-by-step guide on even how to make the pattern and what to measure, how to cut it out, and then even to this stage, how to do all of the different pieces to make it. And this is just a cylinder bag. And then it shows you even here how to construct it. You're definitely going to need weights. You're definitely going to need some hammers and stuff like that, especially when you're dealing with leather work. So they cut out all their pieces that they have here, and then they started to construct and sew this bag. So this is an example of how the bag looked once it was done in felt. Now you can make certain bags on certain machines, but then there's also, you're gonna need a cylinder machine. That's a machine where you can make bags on, where you can like circle around it. They get pretty pricey, but if you're doing bags that don't require a cylinder machine, you can make bags on an industrial machine. If you're making like lightweight bags, like denim or softer bags, you can make those on a regular home machine as well. So just depending on the complexity of the bag, the type of machinery that you need will absolutely vary. Now, when you're doing bags that have a lot of hardware, you do need to do them in pieces. Like for instance, if you were doing a bag that had feet at the bottom here, you'd probably want to attach to the bottom piece before you actually sew the bag together, because a lot of time feet is with screws, so it has to be screwed on from both sides, and then you have to line the bag too. So you're going to want to do the pieces in a chronological order, the same way you do with your sewing. There's sometimes you do top stitching in certain places before you sew it together, or you do a hem, or you put in a zipper and stuff like that. There's still a chronological order. So let me kind of give you guys a outline of one so you can see what it looks like. So this was a design here that we did for a client a while back. All right, so it was a book bag design with the client's logo all over it, and it was to be in leather. So that's it. So of course, we had to figure out what the dimensions of this bag was going to be. So in order for you to figure out the dimensions of the bag, it's always great to look at a reference piece or a reference sample of some sort to kind of get an idea. And then you can measure that particular bag and see, what do you want your height to be? Look at bags in your closet and different bags that you have to kind of figure out, like, oh, I like this bag, but I want it 50% smaller or 75% smaller. So initially, we went ahead and made a mock-up of the bag based off of the reference image that the client provided us. So this would be the mock-up bag to this one, okay? So the mock-up bag we did in canvas, and then we just did the straps and the flap and stuff like that in leather so that he could get a good idea of what it was going to look like. So of course, if this piece is straight, this is also just a tall rectangle. That's going to have grommets going around it as a drawstring, but it's, to pull it in. But ultimately, it's literally just a really big square. That's all this is a really big square, okay? Now, this part here at the bottom, of course, is just the bottom area, and then the bottom piece was made with the feet and stuff like that on there as well. Now, once the client got a chance to take a look at this bag, he felt that this bag was way too big and that he wanted to go for a smaller bag. So you'll see that there's writing all over the bag that this was changed to 6 inches. This is now 4 3/4. The bottom of the bag was changed to 4 1/2, and then the length of the bag was changed to 11 1/2. So we were able to draw directly onto the prototype to figure out exactly where we wanted it to end. And that's how we figured out that the height of the bag would be 14 inches this way, and then 11 1/2 inches this way. And then we also changed the straps as well. So after this initial mock-up was created, then of course we have to go back to the pattern and make those updates. So let me show you guys what the pattern looks like. So this right here, literally front of the bag. Well, this is the back of the bag. The back and the front could be cut from the same piece because it's honestly exactly the same. And then we have a lot more detailed pieces. So this right here is the flap. Sorry, I'm gonna open that up. Yeah, and this isn't the flap. This is the bottom of the bag. So if I was to put it together, this would be here, and then this would be the bottom piece, okay? And then we have a lot of other little pieces in there because, as you can see, this bag has a lot of different details. So you have just a straight piece, and this was used to make the straps here. And then we have this front piece here. This piece was used to make this little tab piece right here. And then make sure you always add your seam allowance, of course. Let me not forget to always tell people to do that. All right, this right here, let's open this piece up. This is the top right here, top part of the flap. That's what that is. So it really is, if you look at the bag pattern, all it is about a whole bunch of different squares and rectangles all mixed up together to create that shape there. Literally, that's all it is. So then, of course, it's nice to have somewhat of a little layout too. So this is one whole piece here, okay? And as you look at this piece, you can tell where things are actually pointing to be, all right? So there's like a pocket over here. You have a bottom, and you can make it one whole piece if you want to. So this is the pattern draft, and we have the actual pattern. So depending on how many seams you want, you can always add the pieces together and make it one whole piece as well. put that over here. And then, of course, this bag also has inner pockets as well as outside pockets. So this is one of the outside pockets. It's actually turned this way. That's this piece here. It's cut this way and it turns to the side. And of course, the seam allowance is there for it to actually create a pocket. So you'll see that it kind of curves in to be the pocket. And there's a hole right here to where the tab is. Okay. All right. So bags are pretty decent, pretty self-explanatory as far as shape goes, and that's a book bag. Let me show you guys an example of a tote bag. One second. Actually, not even a tote bag. I'm gonna do one of my bags. This is the Jaleesa bag, and right now I am going to be making the Jaleesa bag in denim. So what I do is when I'm preparing to make a bag in a different colorway, I create this, what I call a bundle bag. So I have the original pattern in here, and Jaleesa is a round cylinder bag. So I'm doing Jaleesa, I did Jaleesa over in a green leather and the blue leather, and I lined her with velvet previously. Now I'm doing it again in denim. So you can get a chance to see exactly what this bag looks like. So this pattern is a little bit different. Of course, because it's rounded on the sides, it has two circles. Oops, sorry. Some pattern pieces stick together. It has two circles because that's the sides of the bag, okay? Then it has a strap in the front. So I don't know if you could tell from the picture here, but there's a strap that's going across the front. That's what this piece is. And then this is the bag. And it's really also still a square. It's just a square that's rounded, okay? This is actually my lining piece. So this piece goes in because at the back of my bag, I have a little card holder wallet. So this is the lining piece. And then these pieces is the outside of the bag. And then once it's sewn to the round piece here, it creates the circle, you know, as you bend the leather. And then, of course, this bag has a chain on it. And then I bought the chain. I'm going to show you just an example of the natural hardware that I was speaking about. All right. I don't want to get my pattern pieces mixed up because I have a tendency to do that. So put these back in here. Now, I'm going to make it out of this denim. And then I bought chains. One of my favorite resources for hardware is the Buckle Guy. They sell all natural. So I have here the gold chain that's going to go in the bag. I have the zippers that is also going in the bag. And then I have a couple of different things in here. So these are the head of the zippers because I only like natural brass. Riri is probably the best zipper you can buy across the board. And I'm going to be making them in two different types of denim. And then last but not least, I have in the bag my logo. So it's a piece of hardware. So my logo is attached to the centerpiece here. So on that centerpiece, that piece would have to be sewn first, and the logo would need to be attached, and then it would need to be sewn to the rest of the bag. If not, you're like working backwards. So some hardware pieces need to be put on before, okay? So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to take a couple questions, and then you can ask whatever you need to ask about the bag design, and we'll go from there. So let's shoot on the questions. Would you buy a nylon designer bag or a canvas designer bag if you could only afford one? I'd buy a nylon bag. Canvas has a tendency to be very, very rough and can get dirty very fast and attracts lint, and nylon does not. Do you believe a backpack for a mom is in style ever, or should I go with a tote? I think that you should switch it up and go with how you feel. I wear totes and I wear bags, and even for a mom, it just depends on what you're packing up that day. If a book bag is more, it has more room in it and easier to carry when you're, gathering around and picking up other things. And yeah, I wear backpacks when I want to be hands free. If I got a lot going on and I need the use of my hands. But if not, then a tote is fine too. That's just more of a preference for style, honestly. I always buy my boys a new backpack for school each semester due to never getting the bag clean enough. Do you believe a woman's handbag should be clean and how often? Yes, a woman's handbag should be clean and it should be cleaned every time it gets dirty. So I wouldn't say how often, it depends on how often you wear it. So if you wear it a lot and it gets dirty faster, you would need to get it cleaned more. If you don't wear it as often and it doesn't get as dirty fast, so that's more so just like depending on how much you wear it as far as like how often it needs to be cleaned. If you can only buy one Chanel bag, which one and what color? I wouldn't buy a Chanel bag because I make my own bags. So Chanel is a beautiful company, and I think they make beautiful bags. But when it comes to what I purchase, I prefer to purchase with Black designers, and I myself am a handbagger, and so I wouldn't buy a Chanel bag. All right. Any other questions about handbags? You guys got questions was not about construction, but more so by like handbag types or whatever. But I do think that investing in a really nice handbag is good if it's leather. One thing that you should know, and I'm going to give you guys a gem here. I worked at G3 for quite some time. And when I worked at G3, I worked in handbags for Calvin Klein and I worked in handbags for Karl Lagerfeld. When you go to stores like Ross or Marshalls, when they have like compare it price and they have the bags in the stores, Michael Kors, Donna Karan and stuff like that, I want you guys to know that those bags did not come from those stores. Those bags were made for Ross, for Burlington, for Marshalls, TJ Maxx. You're not getting a deal on a bag. You're getting the cheaper version of the bag. When we made bags at Calvin Klein, we made the handles leather. The rest of the bag is PVC. In the same way for Karl Lagerfeld, for Donna Karan, and for Michael Kors. So just so you guys know that those brands have sold their name to licensee companies like G3 so that they can make products and put them in different markets. So please don't ever think that by you getting a bag from Calvin Klein or Donna Karan and stuff like that, that it came from that actual store. If you did not get it from the Donna Karan store or the Michael Kors store, it is an extension of the brand sold to a licensee to develop products for it. And they're developing products that are in those particular markets. Okay. And I'm just going to throw the books up one last time so you can learn a little bit more about them. That is Bag Design by Fashionary. And then that is Fashion Accessories by Oliver Jervil. So be conscious, know different things about shopping there, and just know that all bags made in lower price stores were made for that lower price stores by them making and utilizing cheaper materials and cheaper details. Okay, just a quick note. All right, hope that was informative today. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you next time. Peace out.
So then I said to him, you ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need.
Doug, can we talk about something other than work? It's the weekend.
Yeah. Weekend. Weekends are a lot like insurance.